Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to the home build. Today is an exciting day, another one. We got trusses. The roof has started, officially has begun. Check this out. So this video is going to be about trusses, the layout, the procedures for installing it, rolling trusses, certain things. I am limited to the after just because the crew's out here working while I'm working. So, but we do get to see the connections, the layout. I'll show you some of the code requirements, that sort of thing, according to the truss package, and some details that are on the plans and that sort of thing. So let's go take a look. So out here on the end here of my garage, we got our gable end truss. So this gable end truss gets fully sheathed. It's made differently than the other trusses, just simply for studs, attachment points for siding and sheathing and that sort of thing. Same with on the other end. It's going to be creating a valley going right up the valley here, but the two slopes come together, it creates a valley. We still got to work on that, so we'll show that process and how that comes together. But out here on the end, these little 2x4s that are sticking out like this, those are called lookouts. So a truss can be built a couple different ways, and it could be lowered shorter for allowing for these to nail through, or it can have cutouts like it was actually, excuse me, this one was lowered, and they add the lookouts on top of it and then nail on a nailer above that in between to make up that difference. So same with what this one is over here. Sometimes they're manufactured for you to be able to notch it. Sometimes they're manufactured for even bigger slopes, so they're down lower, like say 3.5 inches, so you can have, you know, 2 to 4 feet of overhang. So on these two sides, they're only going to have a foot overhang. I'd prefer more, but in this particular case, this is what's going to be happening, is a foot of overhang, which, okay, that's all right. On the joint here, there's going to be strapping, 16 on center. I'll show you on the plans what that is. That helps connect those two together. That is a requirement that's on the plans. The spacing of our trusses is 24-inch on center. That is from center to center, 24 inches, starting on the outside, working their way in. And all right, here's the gable end, so you can get a better look at the outriggers or lookouts. They're both but named the same. Nailed into the next truss over, right from the side. There's the little man playing, having fun. All right, so connections, they're not there yet. This was the first day. When the truck is delivered, it's a truss truck with a crane sitting out there in the driveway, hoists up all of the trusses right out here, and they're all laying down. There's a few different ways to do your first truss. Either you start on that end, you work your way this way, okay, or you start on your gable end, laying down, which I believe that's what they did, and then they sheet it, put the sheathing on it, and then they bring it over, stand it up, brace that off nice and plumb. You can see these temporary 2x4 braces that helps hold it up, holding it plumb. And then from there, the stack that's over against the wall, they start bringing over one at a time, sliding it over, and then attaching it. So in this case, they have a little spreader in here. They have a few different types spreaders, either metal straps or you can do wood, but they do need to be permanent, and then they're just toe nailed for now. But they are, according to the code, it's going to get either a screw, big lag screw that screws in, or a special type of clip, and I'll show you that when we get there. This gable end by code also has to have, I believe they're A35 Simpson clips. They're like a little L-shaped angle iron kind of bracket, and on I forget, I think it's either 12 or excuse me, 16 or 24 inch on center. So pay attention to that. Up on top, so when that truss truck was here, it dropped the whole stack up on top. They're all laying up there. I'll take you up there and we'll have a look at that. But so these trusses, the way they're designed is they bear out here on the end over to the far side, which is a girder truss. It's a doubled up truss over on that end. They have little hangers that are nailed onto that girder truss. Okay, so this truss, like say this one right here, bears here. On that far end, those interior ones are not considered bearing walls. So when you have trusses that have these kind of brackets, those are called engineered trusses. From my experience, it's much cheaper to hire a truss company to fabricate, build, engineer, and deliver more or cheaper than I can just buy the materials for. So not only for building purposes do I have to build it correctly, but it also has to be engineered. So I have to provide whoever I'm getting the permit from, whether it's the city, the county, I have to provide all those engineering requirements, all those engineering documents. So the truss companies, they have that in their computer systems. It's all generates for them, and those are acceptable to the city and the county for permits. So another cool thing about this type of truss, the way things are being built now, and I'm just impressed with Adair Homes and how their design is the trusses are 1 foot up off the top plate. So it used to be years ago that this top cord was carrying straight through right here, and that was where your eave started. Well, when you have a foot insulation here and 5.5 inches of insulation here, this little transition right here for air coming up through almost virtually had no insulation right here. So it creates a real low energy efficiency corner. So with having this truss now brought up a foot, all that insulation can be brought all the way to the exterior of the exterior sheathing, keeping that R49 all the way out to the end. So I love it. Energy efficiency at its best right there. So you don't see it yet, but we're gonna see it in well, probably tomorrow in this next video. You're gonna see all sorts of cross bracing within the diaphragm of the web. So a truss is made up of cord, top cord, bottom cord, and these X braces are webs. You're gonna also see diagonal bracing going along that inner web on each end and the middle, and that helps keep it from racking. So that is a requirement by the truss company, the engineering, and as well as the county. So something else that you can do instead of these tall, skinny little braces that are holding up this girder is you can put strong backs on this out temporarily, nailing it on the outside. Strong back is like a 2-stud, so making an L shape, nailing on that outside edge, and then sticking on by to give you something to attach this wall to, and start attaching towards that, because sometimes you don't have these other interior walls to brace from, and you can't just go straight out a long ways, because obviously you only got less than 2 feet here, and that's pretty steep for bracing. So these bottom cords, they're spanning about 45 feet or so. When they're laying on its side, when they're being delivered, they're very weak on the side portion. When they stand up like this, with the tension and compression of each one of these cords, webs, that sort of thing. It depends on which member we're talking about, whether it's in tension or compression. They're all working together, creating a really strong truss that can carry a significant amount of weight. But when it's on a side, you know, you only get that 1.5 inches, it's actually pretty weak. So you got to be real careful when you're sliding it around, when they're laying on its side. And then when you tip it, you also want to be careful and the truss company is going to provide you a paperwork of how you tip it up. So if you slide it out on its side, and when you go to tip it up or roll it, you're not just pushing right up on the center. You might need 2 people to roll it with, say, 2x4s, pushing it up plumb. So I wanted to give you a little shot of this girder truss, how they're attached to connected with the other trusses. Here's one of the types of connections. Okay, see each one. I still got a little bit of work to do to each one of those. It's only the first day, but heck, they did a good job. They got it all on. Another thing that I'm really impressed about with what these guys did, you can see all their string line going everywhere, but the walls, so that exterior wall there, they put a string line on to make sure it's nice and straight. Don't want to start off with something crooked, then it stays crooked. So they strung it. Obviously they had to move it, so they have these interior bracing right here going across this diagonal here, everything to stabilize the wall to keep it from bowing in or out. Out here on the same thing out here on this exterior wall, yesterday they had string line going all the way across. Okay, built this temporary wall to brace it off of the house to bring that beam in or out, depending on the case, if you know where it is on that line. Same thing over here, they had a cross brace over here, help holding everything in. This interior wall here has got a cross brace, helps hold that in its spot. But got to have a nice straight wall, otherwise your siding, everything else follows, and they're going to be crooked. So very impressed that they took the time to do that. That sure made me happy. Same thing I noticed on every single wall in the house. They've strung line to make sure it's good and straight, and bracing it to keep it straight if it is straight. All right, we're up here on the 2nd floor, and down here on the bottom you can see the whole stack, but on this bottom right here, here's your gable end truss. So they got it laying down, they're gonna sheathe it, okay, but of course they got to get everything else off first. Now the very last truss, which is the one on the very top, that's the gable end for the other side. So they're gonna sheet that, slide it on over to where it goes. So it's gonna go all the way over to this side, stand it up. There's a few different ways of standing it, but usually you're taking a 2x4 and you're just pushing it with the 2x4 up and plumbing it up. So, and then bracing it off just like it was down in the garage area. Okay, and then they'll grab another truss, slide it over, tip it up, connect the two so they won't fall, and then just keep going until they get towards the last. Of course, they're gonna have a stack here all vertically till they get that gable end truss up and then finish it off. So at least that's the plan. There's also going to be another girder truss going from this 6x6 over here, and there's going to be another this 6x6 here has got to get placed when they figure out the exact length of where they want it. Going to probably end up being somewhere right in here, the end of that gable end truss. So that's a good start for a first day.